You know what? Let's move on. This high-speed rail is a project for the United States. I'm not even going to look at this Vox video, which is probably going to be an exact repeat of the which one was it? Someone made a fucking video shitting on the California high-speed rail project. And real life lore did. And then fucking Alan Fisher came in, friend of the show. HasanAbi had Alan Fisher came in and stuck his dick all over real life lore's video so hard that real life lore was like, I'm so sorry. I made the worst video of all time. So I'm not going to watch this. And instead, I'm going to watch him shove his cock all over this video when he makes it. Okay? So we'll wait for HasanAbi head, friend of the show, Alan Fisher, to just absolutely fucking, dagger dick this video. More about the politics than the engineering, so it's a bit better than the other one. Okay, well, then we'll take a look at it.
On November 4th, 2008, the people of California voted to fund this.
I do hate California politics.
A high-speed rail line. Many countries around the world have had high-speed trains for decades, and this would be the U.S.'s attempt to finally catch up. The train would whisk passengers from LA to San Francisco in under 3 hours, and it was all set to open in 2020. Today, it's 2022, and California's high-speed rail project is famous for being a disaster.
Will be the most expensive project in state history.
A train that's going to nowhere.
Train to nowhere.
All that's there today is this one section, still under control.
I mean, right off the jump, this is just reactionary framing against government projects. Like, certainly, in a lot of instances, big budget government projects end up creating fucking handouts for a lot of, nepotism beneficiaries, right? Nepotism recipients. But the idea that, like, a high-speed rail that goes across this gigantic fucking state is not going to be expensive is a silly one.
Construction from Bakersfield to Merced. But the failure of this rail line isn't just California's problem. It's an ominous sign for big projects all over the U.S.
We see other advanced economies all around the world that are able to do this. So they can do it, so why can't we?
In other words, what is it about the U.S. that made California's high-speed rail line so hard to build? Just to be clear, this was a pretty good idea. A lot of people travel between San Francisco and LA, but the trip takes at least 6 hours by car. It's less than an hour by plane, but that's not counting time in two of the country's busiest airports. So a 2-hour and 40-minute trip by high-speed rail made sense. California just needed to design a route that connected its big...
Also, how much emissions it would cut and how much traffic it would reduce literally around the fucking metropolitan areas.
Cities efficiently.
It's really about population density and how quickly you can serve areas of high population density.
This is Ethan Elkind, director for the climate program at UC Berkeley Law School and host of the local State of the Bay radio show.
You really want those centers where there's a lot of people working and living within a few kilometer range of the station. If you don't have that, then it's not worth a high-speed rail stop.
But that's easier said than done. In the early 2000s, the California High-Speed Rail Authority considered two routes in Southern California. This one went straight up the I-5 highway, while this one looped eastward and stopped in Palmdale. It was 34 miles longer, and studies estimated it would be 12 minutes slower. Yet, ultimately, this was the route they chose. So what happened?
So the Palmdale stop was really added at the behest of the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors that wanted to see a stop for high-speed rail in Palmdale. If you have the county that the high-speed rail line is going through opposing it, that can create real political problems, can create litigation problems, can create permitting problems.
Palmdale politicians understandably wanted the train's riders and business opportunities to come to their district. The problem was that they had the power to hold up the entire project to do so. They have this power because the U.S. government gives it to them. The U.S. is a federal system, meaning power is divided between the federal government and state governments, which in turn grants some power to local governments. When it comes to infrastructure, a lot of the power and responsibility is often on this local level.
That's a compromise that we make here in the United States. We believe in local control to some extent, representative democracy. The downside of that is when you're trying to get a project at this scale built, it does take.
I mean, unless they fucking unironically advocate for, one-party communist development as an example of successful high-speed rail being built all around a vast and almost equally populous fucking state like China, I don't want to hear it. Yeah, oh shit, dude, I can't believe Palmdale has the capacity to hold up this fucking infrastructure development. Okay, steamroll them. Go to the houses of every fucking executive and go to the house of every local politician and be like, okay, sick. Well, you don't like this? Okay, you're going to jail.
Take a lot of compromise.
And in order to build a 1,300-kilometer high-speed rail line, the State High-Speed Rail Authority had to compromise with a lot of local governments.
No, this video is not debunking this. This video is the older video that we watched already. Okay? And Alan Fisher also recognizes and admits that that bureaucracy does play a role in this, but on the contractor side especially.
In the Bay Area, politicians pushed for this route instead of this one, even though it was much more expensive and slower for travelers coming from San Francisco. And in the Central Valley, the route stops.
Oh, this part was actually addressed in the Alan's video. Technically, there's already pre-existing routes there that is easier to fucking build on. It also goes through like there's terrain considerations that videos like this don't actually pay attention to.
In all these cities, instead of going up this faster route, in order to ensure support from the politicians here. All of these little compromises.
Wait, what the fuck? Isn't there? Wait, I don't want to get all crazy with it, but I'm pretty sure there's literally fucking mountains. Like, he's describing mountains right now. Like, yeah, I know this is a direct line, but like, has anyone ever asked why there are so many population dense areas right here and here and here, and not here and here and here and here? That's mountains. He's describing mountains. Have you heard of tunnels? Kappa? Wait, yeah. Oh man, you're so right. Yeah. No, you're right. It's actually much better to do a high-speed rail by literally digging into fucking mountains.
Began adding up, making the route slower and more expensive.
No, there are no mountains in that specific route. It's just going along the I-5. Wait, I thought I-5 was much shorter than that. Or, like, it goes through this area? Hold on. Okay, but hitting I-5 is ignoring where people live? I read that digging a tunnel costs $1 billion per mile. I don't know how long it costs. I don't know how much it I don't know how much it costs. I know it's more costly than just doing it on top of pre-existing railroads. But even doing it on top of pre-existing railways is still difficult, especially because some of those lines are not easy to immediately modernize, and it could be even more costly. People live in LA and San Francisco, not the Central Valley. No, there's still people that live there. I think the reason why they don't do it past the I-5 is that, like, I thought that the reason why they won't do it past the I-5 is because of mountains. And even if it's the interstate directly, I might be wrong. Hold on, I'm trying to pull it up. But from what I understand, even if it's the interstate, building a fucking railroad on top of the interstate or near an interstate is not as easy. And you still have to go through mountains. Just because I-5 might go through mountains doesn't change the reality that adding train tracks on top of it is still a significantly more expensive endeavor. This isn't it. Wouldn't earthquakes cause massive problems with the tunnels? I don't know what the counters to that are. I don't know. I'm sure if Japan can do it, we can too. This is a topography map of California, by the way. It looks straight, but it's too curvy for a high-speed rail. The I-5, that is. You need to make a lot of extra tunnels, expensive and shit. Yeah. That's it. The 5-4 through the Central Valley, which is surrounded by mountains. Alan Fisher says, I'm aware of the Vox HSR video. It is better than the real-life lore video, but still has lame takes and incredibly short-sighted views in it without providing any solutions. Nice. Gotthard Tunnel right now. Mountains are literally just a question of motivation. I wonder if we should. It would be better if they just bring on Alan Fisher himself, or just wait for him to do a video on this, because I'm not well equipped. I'm just literally speculating.
Which was a problem because the funding was already on shaky ground. When California voted in 2008, the state estimated it would need $33 billion to complete by 2020. But voters were told that California taxpayers would only have to pay $9 billion. That's because the planners were counting on the federal government to chip in $12 to $16 billion. And it made some sense. The federal government spends tens of billions of dollars a year on transportation infrastructure. The problem was only a fraction of it goes to trains. Partly because, unlike most countries with high-speed rail, the US has a stark political divide on whether we even need it. By 2010, the Democrat-controlled Congress had allocated just over $3 billion for the project. Not nothing, but not nearly as much as the state wanted. But by 2015, the Democrats had lost control of Congress to the Republicans, who opposed this kind of mass transit project.
More money for California's high-speed rail, I call it high-cost rail, is a terrible idea.
None of these funds can be used for high-speed rail.
They made it very difficult for any further federal money to reach this project, leaving it well short of funding. It's an example of how in the US, long-term projects can be...
At least they nailed that. Actually, this is a better video. They do nail the necessity for additional funding and why, instead of giving it more life, they decided to kill it.
...be at the mercy of whichever party is in power, since they often have the power to stall it at any time. And it's not just the federal government.
I hate this, dude. I think infrastructure projects like this should be completely... I don't even know. I mean, yeah, a one-party system would fix this, except we do have a one-party system. It's just a capitalist one-party, so it doesn't matter. That's the reason why we can't fix it. I don't know what to say to this other than just like, I want to jail everyone that stops things like this from happening. Sometimes you just gotta forcibly make this, okay? Sometimes you just gotta forcibly make it at the threat of, just at gunpoint.
Private citizens can also hold things up. It took less than a year for people to start suing the California high-speed rail project. Many cases were based on a law called the California Environmental Equality Act, known as CEQA. CEQA requires the government to study the environmental effects of any government project, explore alternatives, and release the findings in a report.
It's very easy to find a hole in that assessment and then file a lawsuit, essentially target practice for lawyers.
Many of these lawsuits had...
The whole thing was generally negative. It can be used as ammo for NIMBYs, which is the last thing we want. Also, most people in railroad construction know that the I-5 corridor would be terrible for HSR mainline because of how mountainous it is. I think the second part is valid. I don't think the diagnosis of the problems at multiple levels of government that high-speed rail construction to have problems are bad. NIMBYs will find excuses. Vox blames some localities for not allowing HSR through certain areas, which sounds anti-NIMBY. Yes, but the problem is NIMBYs are vicious and will use any amount of negative light to their advantage unless this video is obviously calling them out. Liberalism got me thinking maybe we went too far with handing out rights. Never forget that liberalism also did not necessarily hand out rights to black people, so there is that too. What is a NIMBY? NIMBYs are not in my backyard, okay? People who are anti-urbanism, people who don't want additional construction to happen in their backyards because they don't care about creating more supply of housing because that will drive down their price of housing. However, they're also fucking annoying on top of that. And YIMBYs are fucking annoying too. Every part of that conversation is awful. There's plenty of YIMBYs in my community, obviously because I'm a leftist. YIMBYs are yes in my backyarders who are like, who range from leftist socialists who want public housing all the way to ANCAPs who are like Larry Elder. Larry Elder is literally a YIMBY, okay? Or claims he's a YIMBY at the very least. And that's what's really frustrating about the YIMBY side of the conversation, because the YIMBY side of the conversation, like I said, is massive. It goes all the way from like leftists and socialists all the way to fucking anarcho-capitalists. Because the difference is what kind of housing is important. We have to talk about what kind of housing we're building. And most YIMBYs will turn around and say, wow, you're being a NIMBY right now. You're being a NIMBY right now by saying what kind of housing needs to be built. Doesn't matter what kind of housing needs to be built. What we need is more supply. Well, guess what? We are adding supply. It doesn't even fucking matter because half the time, if it's a luxury high rise with a little bit of fucking with a couple like affordable units attached to it, then you're not solving the problem. Anyway, but that is somewhat unrelated to the project we were talking about.
Legitimate concerns. Some farmers in the Central Valley worried about the train damaging their agricultural land, irrigation systems, and crops. But others simply used CEQA to try and keep the project from being built in their neighborhood. This is a common way in the US for private citizens to block important projects like housing or infrastructure.
It's not cheap to bring a CEQA lawsuit. Sometimes you've got very powerful homeowners groups that have sued and forced changes, or at least delayed the project and run up costs.
For the high-speed rail line, these lawsuits were like roadblocks. And in order to clear them, the state had to hire legions of expensive lawyers, which added time and costs.
I think you do want to have a participatory system. You do want to have people able to say their piece, and you want policymakers to respond. Just that you don't want to get to the point where a hyper-local interest has veto over a project of really statewide importance.
But take away local politicians and federal drama and lawsuits, and this project still would have faced problems. The state body in charge of designing and managing this project was the California High-Speed Rail Authority. There was just one problem.
The High-Speed Rail Authority had never built anything like this.
Whoops.
Obviously, it's a tried and true technology globally, but it was new in North America when California tried it. Certainly, we didn't have the competence in-house how to build it here.
When Japan and France were building their high-speed rail networks, they had legions of experienced engineers inside their governments. But the California High-Speed Rail Authority had to hire consultants and contractors to handle the design and construction.
These consultants were 4 times the cost in some cases of what it would have cost to hire someone just to do it in-house.
Another reason why the authority had to keep increasing the estimated cost of the project.
Oh man, look at that. Another wonderful example of a failure that is public-private partnership. That's crazy. Dude, this is literally the reason why so many people like Juniper, Transgender Marks, and many others have said time and time again that America's not a real government, but just a bunch of fucking multinational corporations in a trench coat. It's just like the only goal, the only stated purpose of the American government at this point is just to literally fucking take money from you in the form of taxes and then hand it off, hand over fist to fucking whatever gigantic corporation is going to write you the fattest fucking lobbying dollars. I hate it. Just do something, man. Do anything. I fucking hate this so much.
Which today is up to $113 billion to complete the whole line. But the state only has
Brother, do you realize that socialist countries did those projects much worse? Brother, you are so right, dude. It's so crazy because our non-existent high-speed rail is so much worse than China's very much existing high-speed rail. You're right. Have you ever researched this at all, or did you just repeat this without even fucking looking at anything? Hey, China isn't socialist. Who's socialist then? Who are you even referencing then? What is a socialist country that has high-speed rail? What the fuck? No, I am from post-communist country. Then shut the fuck up, okay? Don't take advantage of the wonderful fucking public transit that was built before you by people who knew better than you, and then you fucking turn around and go, oh, there is none. What is it? Where is it then? What is he? I want to know. Hold on, I gotta... Motherfuckers will literally take advantage of the beautifully built, beautifully constructed metro stations from the Soviet era that double as a fucking bomb shelter while simultaneously being like, oh, that's so bad. Two things that benefited post-Soviet countries: incredibly high rates of home ownership, like personal home ownership, and adequate public transit in comparison to having nothing beforehand. I need to know what you're talking about. I need to know. There is none. I'm from post-communist country. There is none. Oh, literacy rates too. There's nothing that triggers me more than this. Here. There you go, dude. There you go. Chinese railway map, 2008 versus 2020. Impressive growth. By 2021, the high-speed rail network in China stretches to 37,900 kilometers, while its entire rail track length runs for 141,000 kilometers. By 2035, the high-speed network will have increased to 70,000 kilometers. And even then, motherfucker goes, the problem is only to Beijing, the China railways has profit. All others have deficit. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Jerry, for your fucking feedback. Someone dial up. Hold up. Someone call Xi Jinping, boys. Jerry's got it figured out. Does China know what Jerry knows? Do they have access to Jerry's beautiful brain? Billions of motherfuckers, not one Jerry, dude. That's crazy. Once again, you know what else is not profitable? Roads, okay? It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. And also, the economic improvement of railways like this, if you think about the prosperity of a country and economic development and just development in general of a country, then this is significantly better than anything else that you could do with that money. Constantly engaging in profit-seeking attitudes and profit-seeking methods is literally the reason why America has nothing. We have dog shit infrastructure. We have nothing. That's the reason why we're a fucking third world country with a Gucci belt. Dumbass Jerry, shut the fuck up. Bro, you are not a corporation. What do you mean? The worst part is this is just a regular American, okay? This is just a regular old American dumbass. That's the worst part about this. A regular old American dumbass who's like, well, what about the fucking profit margins for these lines? Like, what? Dude, why do you care? What are you doing? Why are you saying this?
Enough money to build this section in the rural Central Valley.
Oh, I saw this. This was wonderful. I saw that. I retweeted this. Feel like Spain got a little too good at building trains and started going for some routes to places where nobody lives. That's what this motherfucker said, okay?
Not as smart as you thought you were in the first place. So
That's wild, dude. What a wild fucking take, man. Why are we such fucking pieces of shit that we literally look at other countries that are successful in their fucking public transit initiatives and go, nah, not good enough. Shut up, potato head. The fuck do you know? Sit the fuck down and contribute to your fucking diabetes by eating McDonald's every day. Why the fuck do you involve yourself in business that does not involve you? I hate these fucking Amerifat pieces of shit typing away, being like, oh, this country, I don't like it. This is no different than that dumb fuck Jerry. The only difference is this guy gets fucking paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to write dumb shit like this, whereas Jerry's doing it for free. Eat your fucking burger. Yeah, anyway, sorry. Something that triggers the fuck out of me.
Even if it can get the rest, it would probably take a few more decades to finish this project.
The high-speed rail is a cautionary tale for really big transformative projects in the U.S. We need all sorts of rail transit, bus lanes, new renewable energy facilities, all the things we need to do to have a more sustainable and vibrant economy.
But the U.S. is falling further and further behind its peers because the political compromises, underfunding, lawsuits, and extra costs that hampered California's high-speed rail can also happen to any other big project the U.S. takes on.
Alex Jones verdict incoming. Actually, does anyone have a link?